Hi, welcome to Noisy Clan's 5-Step to Play More course. My name's David, and I'll be guiding you through each step to improve your music habit. If you're like me, you have every intention of improving and mastering that next technique or learn that song you've always loved, but somehow it's really easy to let other things take precedence, and you find yourself doom scrolling on social media at 2 a.m. in the morning wishing, oh my God, I wish I'd just gone to sleep. Well, we created this course to help. We're not going to be able to fix social media addiction, but we've researched all the latest science and best practices around habit forming and put together this structured course to help you play more. This isn't a magic wand. You have to do the playing, but with concrete tips, free resources, accountability groups, and a willingness to engage, we truly believe that this will help you create rather than consume. So the next steps are to start. Make a commitment, set your intentions, and help yourself to play more. Please make use of our resources, and I look forward to seeing you inside the course. Welcome to the first step on your habit journey. To start forming habits, you need a place to nurture your habit. A place we call your play zone, and this is a dedicated space to have your instrument permanently out and ready to play at a moment's notice. Here are some guidelines for your space. The space shouldn't already be associated with another habit, potentially a bad habit. It can't be your sofa, as that's associated with relaxing, or a home office chair, as that'll be associated with work or writing emails. And the space should preferably be accessible. So this is somewhere you'll be able to see or pass often. Not in a corridor if at all possible, but a corner which you can see on a daily basis. You want to make the space welcoming and comfortable. You want to spend time there. You want to be happy, like if you have a spare moment, you'd want to shoot off to the space. You should be free from interruptions during your creative music time. You may have to lock up your phone and your kids, but a great space would be a quiet but visible corner with great lighting, a comfortable chair, a space for your instrument that's out, not in a case, and if you can, a music stand. You may need a screen for videos and course content, and I know we recommend not having a screen, but if you have a screen, make sure you shut off all notifications. So go in, set a setting if you can for your notifications. So maybe this is your music time, but all notifications off. Finally, the next step after watching this video is for you to figure out where that is in your house. Where can you have your dedicated play zone in your home and get it set up so it's an inviting place for you to play more. First step is carving out a little space in your home to finally play your music. Okay, we're on to step 2. You have your space, you've designated a zone in your house, so it's time to bring it to life. We want to have a meaningful zone where we focus on the most important thing, and that's playing more. We want to find a way to display your instrument in this area. So the number one rule, and it's a rule, or the number one most effective way to play is to have your instrument out, visible, and available at all times, and hopefully in tune. You should also have any reminders, music books, learning materials open and ready to go alongside any of the necessary equipment for your instrument. And finally, make your area inspire you to play more. Have forms of encouragement, music-inspired artwork, anything that will help boost your creativity. And so, number one takeaway, ensure that you have your instrument ready to go, out and available and tuned if it requires tuning at all times, and then make your space as inviting as possible. We have our space, we have our instrument out and ready to play. Mine's right back there. So now we have to have a time to play. A time to play every day is essential to making playing a part of your daily routine. It's harder than it seems. Life just gets in the way, and it always will. The goal here is to establish a play more routine. This doesn't have to be hours every day. 2 minutes, tiny little amount of time, 2 minutes a day, just get you into the habit of having music in your life every single day. A really helpful method for doing this is stacking it with another task that you do every day. So this is a really powerful technique for establishing new habits and getting rid of the bad ones. And the first task acts as a reminder to start you on the next one. You can design your task system to reward yourself, so making it easier to establish a successful routine. There are lots of tasks that happen every day: washing the dishes, walking the dog, brushing your teeth. So how can you hijack one of them to lead you playing your instrument more? It could be as simple as when you pour your morning coffee, that's a reminder, okay, I'm going to walk over, have my coffee, play my instrument for a couple of minutes. It could be I take my dog for a walk every morning. When I come back, feed the dog, feed my music habit. And so if you can link your new habit to an existing habit you already do, then it becomes much more muscle memory rather than like, oh God, I've got to do this. And then, oh, I forgot. So you don't even have to think about it. Next, we're going to write an affirmation around your commitment to showing up at your instrument. It has 4 parts to it. First part is, what are you going to do? So I will play my tuba. And we're going to say how long? I'm going to say for 2 minutes every day. And then I'm going to say when I'm going to do it. So I'm going to say, I'm going to play my tuba for 2 minutes a day at 6 a.m. after I walk the dog. So that's the 4th part. It's the task that you are stacking this on top. So this affirmation, again, has 4 things. What are you going to do? I'm going to play my tuba. How long are you going to do it for? 2 minutes. When are you going to do it? I'm going to do it at 6 a.m. in the morning. What are you going to stack it with? After I walk my dog. So the time should be small and attainable. I put 2 minutes, generally get there, start playing. It always goes longer, but never longer than 15 minutes. It's just too much of an overwhelm to try and think, oh, I've got to have 15 minutes every single day. So make your time specific, 6:10, 7:05 a.m., and link it to an existing habit that you do every single day. So there's a template in a module. Make yourself a note and then post it somewhere visible. Every day you should see it and have it serve as a reminder that you've promised yourself to keep this up. Being consistent is very hard. And if you make the mountain that you're trying to climb just too much, you're not going to do it. So identify a daily activity that you can link to playing your instrument, and then figure out what your affirmation is. How are you going to show up? When are you going to show up? How long are you going to show up for? And what are you going to link it to so that you don't have to be reminded every day? You don't have to go, oh, I forgot. You're just going to be like, I brushed my teeth. I'm going to go play my musical instrument. Anyway, hope that helps. I'm going to go off and play my guitar, and I'll see you in the next one. Drawing the blinds, lighting a candle, pouring a glass of water, maybe even wine, stretching your arms and taking a deep breath. These are all common ways that people begin a yoga session. Maybe not the wine. But what do you have to do with playing music? Actually, everything. Each of those is a small intentional ritual, and rituals matter. They help your brain transition from chaos to calm, from busy to focused. They tell your mind it's time to shift gears. So here's the question. What ritual can you create that helps you arrive at your instrument ready to play? Here are some simple ideas. Light a candle, print out a blog lesson you want to try, tune your instrument with care, clean the keys, wipe the strings, adjust the stand, or just set a tiny little goal. Today I want to enjoy the sound of one song. These little moments can be very powerful. They ground you, they create space mentally and physically to play, and they make it easier to begin, especially on those days when life feels a bit too loud. So here's a simple pre-play ritual you can try just for 5 minutes. Set your space, tidy your area, adjust the lighting, open a window, breathe, sit or stand tall, take a few slow deep breaths, maybe even say to yourself, I'm here to play. Tune in literally. Tune your instrument slowly but with intention and warm up gently. Run through a scale or a phrase you love, set a tiny goal, just one thing you'd like to explore today. These rituals might seem small, maybe even a little silly, but they do add up. On a tough day, they might be the one thing that gets you to pick up your instrument. It's not really about when you're super motivated, it's when you're not that those rituals take control. So today, light that metaphorical candle. Take a breath. Choose one small way to ease into your practice and make it your own. Because playing music isn't just about skill, it's about showing up mind and body and ready to listen and ready to explore. And anything that you can do to help you click into that space is a great thing. Intention makes all the difference. This is my favorite part, not because I'm good at it, far from it, but because when I actually pause and set an intention, it changes everything. I tried playing guitar as a teenager and failed. And it was only years later, when I set an intention around my playing, that everything changed. In my 30s, I picked up the guitar again and vowed that I would find joy in my guitar practice so that I would keep playing. I also had an 18-month-old daughter, And I added the incentive that she would think I was a good player by the time she was 18 years old, as long as I just kept playing. And that intention gave me a long-term perspective around my playing and helped me to keep playing even when I wasn't in love with how I was sounding, which is fairly often. You'll experience the same thing. And so you don't have to know everything, but you just need to know why you're doing this. So there's a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It's a business book, but it captures a key insight for any endeavor, and that's start with the why. So clarify the purpose behind what you're doing. If you don't have a purpose, then it's easy to lose your way. So one of the best things you can do for your music or anything you want to do is to ask yourself why. Why am I doing this? There are lots of equally valid reasons that you could have for playing music, but knowing your reason can help you keep playing when things get tough, and they will, and you lose your way, which all of us do. So ask yourself why. And it might not be immediately obvious, and you may have to work on it for a while, but articulating your why and writing it down, so setting an intention for your practice and putting it in a place where you'll see it daily will really help you keep playing. You can also use setting intentions on small stuff. Even if you felt totally overwhelmed before beginning something, that moment of, oh, where do I start? Everyone experiences that. And that's exactly where intention becomes your best friend. So start your music or your practice with intention. When you're thinking about learning an instrument, the questions come fast. What music should I play? How do I become an accomplished musician? Where do I even begin? Do I need a teacher? And it's easy to freeze up and get caught in the tangle of possibilities. To move forward, guess what? Clarify your intention. So first choose an area of your instrument you'd like to explore. Not a strict goal, but not a race to progress, just an area to spend time in. Next, articulate why you're doing this. This why is the most important part. Just like before, what are you hoping to get out of this experience? I recommend that you find an intention that is realistic and uplifting, something that will inspire you to keep playing. This is your guide for your practice. This is the why of your practicing. So when you get stuck, when you get bored, when you just want to put your instrument down, think about why you're doing it. And it can just make it everything more enjoyable, more grounded, and much, much less stressful. You're not here to win at music, you're here to experience. And if I go back and think about it, the intention I set myself when my daughter was young gave me permission to be bad at guitar. I just needed to keep playing. I just had to be good enough to fool my daughter into thinking that I could play guitar well. That change in mindset brought music into my life for the long term rather than trying for quick wins. It didn't have to be immediately good. There's also the magic of setting your intentions around even the small stuff. And so focusing on a small subject lets you go deep. It narrows your learning, boosts your confidence, and brings longer lasting, more satisfying results. You don't have to master everything. Just explore one little thing, but with intention. Whether you're just beginning or circling back after a break, set your intention and then begin. So the takeaway here is, why do you play your instrument? What drove you to play it in the first place? What gets you excited about playing? So write down your overall purpose, your intention for your music, and display it where you can read it every single day. This is your musical why. So if you have it displayed, it will keep you motivated. When you get tough and you can't get that, latest trumpet solo, that's what you want to think about. The hardest part of almost any habit, and especially creative habits, is not the doing, but actually the starting. When your brain thinks, oh, I need to practice my guitar for the next 40 minutes, it immediately conjures up all sorts of obstacles. I don't have time, I'm tired, I can't be bothered. But if your rule is, I only have to play harmonica for 2 minutes, there's almost no resistance. 2 minutes? You can do that even on a bad day. So the 2-minute rule is one of the great psychological hacks you can use throughout your life. Inertia is the enemy of progress. So set your barrier as low as possible for success, as low as you can go. And this strategy works because of 2 key principles. Number 1, it just reduces the friction. The smaller the task, the less energy your brain needs to get going. You sidestep perfectionism and all of your overwhelm. So kind of get rid of that friction. And then once you've started, momentum builds motivation. So your brain shifts into active mode. That small beginning often leads to much, much more. You reach for your trombone and then you play a few notes, and the next you know, you're like 20 minutes, 30 minutes have passed. And this is called the activation effect. Starting changes your mindset from thinking about it to doing it. And that's the hardest transition to make. And the great secret is that 2 minutes of play almost always turns into more. So set your targets kind of really small and show up. And it's really the showing up that helps. If you really can't be bothered playing your instrument today, why not just tune it? If your mind is doing all it can do to take you away from piano, go and just find the piece you're working on and play the scale of the key it's in. If 30 minutes of trumpet scale seems like the last thing in the world you could bring yourself to do, go pick it up and just do a breathing exercise. These all take a first step to playing more by simply showing up. Showing up can be aided by having a ritual that you do beforehand, which can push away those negative thoughts and bring you to your playing zone. These all take a first step to playing more by simply showing up. So reduce the barrier, think about 2 minutes, that's all you need to do, and get yourself playing. If you want to ensure you play more, then track it. Measure what matters. It's truly that simple. Habit trackers are a thing for a reason. They work. Tracking makes you accountable and shows progress even when you can't see it or hear it for yourself. There's been lots of study behind the effectiveness of simply making a scorecard to track your progress. And guess what? We have one. And I use one. It's the journey, not the destination. That's more true than ever. And studies show that tracking the habit process, i.e. the time you spend playing, the time you spend exercising, is much better than measuring the outcome, i.e. how much weight have I lost. And it leads to a much higher habit persistence. Habits really are about behavioral patterns rather than the results. And it's truly the process rather than the outcome. And streak maintenance is an undeniably powerful thing. Research from behavioral economists have found that we're far more willing to expend effort to maintain a streak than the same goal without streak tracking. Simple wins every time. A study this year found that individuals that use just the yes-no tracking maintain habits much more longer than those using detailed metrics when they were trying to build a habit. But nothing stays the same. As you've locked in your habit and it's matured, introducing more nuanced measurements can enhance your motivation. And they found that as you've got this habit locked in, if you start measuring kind of more nuanced parts of your habit, it can lead to more satisfaction, better progress. So, with all that being said, how is it best to track? We have a template which you can download and start ticking off. You can take it week by week and see your progress over time. And the more consistent you are, the easier it is for you to form a habit. So print the tracker, make your own one, put it in your play area next to your instrument, and every time you play, give yourself a big tick, a rubber stamp, pat in the back, maybe even a gold star. So take away, create or print your habit tracking and mount it in a visible spot near your instrument and check it off whenever you practice. It's that simple. Some days you're super motivated to practice your instrument. Other days you're tired, you're busy, you're distracted, or just not in the mood. That's totally normal. Motivation comes, it goes. So how do you keep going when it's not showing up? One simple trick, don't break the chain. This idea got popular thanks to a story about comedian Jerry Seinfeld. He said the secret to getting better wasn't about writing amazing jokes every day. It was just about writing every day. So he used a big wall calendar, and every day he wrote, he marked a big red X. Day after day, X after X, a chain started to form. And his only rule after that, don't break the chain. It's simple, and it works. Because once you see that growing line of progress, it starts to feel really, really good. You're not just practicing anymore, you're building a streak, a rhythm, and hopefully an identity. So apps like Duolingo are built on this. People, myself included, get obsessed with keeping your streak alive. And here's the best part. Your effort doesn't have to be perfect or long. Even 2 minutes, and that's why we go on about 2 minutes. 2 minutes counts. So what's a link in your musical chain? It could be playing for 5 minutes. It could be running a quick scale. It could be learning a single bar of a song or just tuning your instrument and strumming it a little. You get to decide what counts. And that flexibility really is the key, especially on tough days. So how do you start? Pick a tracker, paper, a calendar, wall chart, or a habit app. Set your minimum action and mark the day when you do it and watch that chain grow. Then just don't break your chain. And if you do miss a day, that's okay. Just start again the next day. You're only one day away from being back on track. Here in our office, we have this saying, you're only one meal away from the zone, and it's a 90s diet reference, but the point stands. If you drop off your diet, you're only one meal away from being back on it. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going, and with consistency and some compassion for everyday life. So grab a calendar, make a mark, and build a habit chain that's stronger than your excuses, one day at a time. One of the keys to building a daily music practice habit is standardizing. When building a new habit like playing your instrument every day, it's tempting to jump straight into finding a perfect practice routine. What's my best warm-up? How should I structure my time? Should I use a metronome or backing tracks? How do professionals practice? Lots and lots of stuff you could think about niddling and griddling with, but these are useful questions. Way too early. Before you worry about optimizing your practice, you need to do something far more powerful. Just standardize it. And so, what do I mean by standardize? Standardize your practice means to just create simple, repeatable routine. Practice at the same start time or trigger each day. Keep the practice session easy, predictable, and at least in the beginning. In other words, it's really about building up your habit, showing up, not maximizing efficiency or results, but just showing up. When you optimize too early, you add complexity. Complexity makes it harder to ever finish. You might spend more time tweaking your gear, setting goals, reorganizing your practice plans than actually just playing your instrument. So standardizing removes decision fatigue and it simplifies the process. For example, if I standardize my practice, I play flute at 7:30 every night for 10 minutes right after dinner. Optimized might be, I want to divide my 30-minute practice into scales, repertoire, I forgot my warm-up, my improvisation, and who knows what else. And then you track it all in a spreadsheet. Second one sounds impressive, but if you're just struggling to even sit down and play, it's not sustainable. Not yet. So, a simple framework to standardize. Same time, attach your practice to a daily anchor. Do some habit stacking. After breakfast, after work, before bed, do your practice in the same place. Keep your instrument visible, accessible, and ready to go. Keep it short. 2 minutes, that's all you need, 2 minutes. You can extend it once you're in the flow and start the same way. Same opening action, tuning up, playing a warm-up scale, or reviewing your favorite riff. The goal here is to lower the friction so you can build consistency. And once you've practiced daily for a couple of weeks, a month, then you can think about adding more complexity and structure. So, when to optimize? Once your practice habits feels automatic, when you're showing up regularly without needing motivation, then you can start to think about optimizing. You could create a rotating practice schedule, use apps, tools, or journaling to track progress, or refine your technique or time allocation, but none of those optimizations matter if you don't make your habit stick in the first place. So, takeaway, start really simply and make your new habit repeatable. Show up first and then fine tune later. Do you choose the carrot or the stick? Well, let's talk about the carrot. Using rewards to build a habit can be very powerful, but only if they're used strategically, especially in the context of playing a musical instrument. So, use immediate rewards right after your habit. Your brain is wired to associate actions with their immediate consequences. Give yourself a reward right after you complete a habit, even if it's a small thing. After 10 minutes of practice, enjoy a piece of chocolate. Now, this is my personal favorite, my downfall, or a favorite podcast, a stretch on the couch, and after a week of consistent practice, watch a video of your favorite artist. My son likes to reward himself with pies, but it's rarely associated with an action. So immediate rewards strengthen the brain's positive association with the habit that we're trying to build. That's playing your instrument more. So reinforce that behavior loop by play and then a small reward. Keep rewards simple and kind of internal where possible. External treats can help at the start, But intrinsic, like I'm feeling proud, relaxed, or musically expressive, are far more sustainable in the long term. At the end of each practice, take 10 seconds to say out loud or in your head, I did it, I showed up, I sounded good, that sounded better than yesterday. Naming your reward helps the brain recognize the benefit and builds motivation from within. So, intrinsic rather than external. Make the habit itself feel like a reward. Add small elements of fun or joy into the habit so it makes something you look forward to. For us musicians, this could mean ending each practice with a favorite song or free play session, or just jamming to a backing track if that kind of brings you joy. When the habit itself is rewarding, it really becomes self-sustaining. And we're going to go back to something we talked about before, which is track your progress visibly. This is kind of a visual reward. It just ticks off your visual brain. Use a calendar or a sticker chart or a habit tracker app to mark each day you practice. Visual rewards create that sense of achievement. It just grows over time and you feel motivated not to break the chain. You can use larger occasional rewards for milestones, but don't rely on big rewards daily, but use them to celebrate consistency over time. After 30 days of practice, buy a new songbook, a new set of strings, or take a lesson with someone you really admire. You can do those online, they're really helpful. Share a progress video with a friend or a community for encouragement. And it's important to celebrate your success and recognize progress as you make it. The larger rewards, which are tied to your real efforts, reinforce the value of sticking with the habit. It's the journey, not the destination. I'm going to keep repeating, it truly is the journey, not the destination. Be careful not to use rewards that contradict your long-term goals. If I practice, I get to skip tomorrow. Ooh, not so good. So stick to reinforcing the identity you want to build. I'm a musician who likes to practice. So, takeaways. Reward yourself, but tie the reward directly to the action to help make that habit feel emotionally satisfying. And move away from chocolate, the external motivators, to internal identity rather than, I'm going to get a bunch of chocolate if I practice. Start small, stay consistent, and reward yourself wisely, and hopefully your play with your instrument will only increase. So play more. Creation over consumption. When learning to play an instrument or building any meaningful habit, it's really easy to fall into a familiar and comfortable pattern. And that's consuming rather than creating. We binge watch tutorials, read gear reviews, bookmark practice plans, look at new equipment. All of this feels productive, and in a way it is, but if we're not careful, it can become a form of procrastination dressed up as preparation. This is the trap of consumption. It's passive. It feels safe because it asks so little of us. It gives us the illusion of progress. Oh yeah, I watched that video on how to do that, new technique, but you don't know that new technique, you know about that new technique. And so it's without the vulnerability of trying or sounding perfect, of doing the hard, slow work that leads to real growth. Creation, on the other hand, is truly active. It's risky. It asks you to pick up your instrument, to make sound, to shape something, even if it's rough or incomplete. It really asks you to take a risk, and it's so much easier to watch someone else taking that risk. So habits aren't built by watching someone else do the thing. They're built by doing it, and doing it yourself over and over again. So I talk to my kids, I talk to myself a lot. Create rather than consume. This doesn't mean you need to write a song every day or post your practice online. Creation can be small and personal, as simple as improvising a short melody after your warm-up, recording a 30-second clip just to track your progress, or making up a chord progression that's entirely your own. Even a few minutes of personal, intentional playing can shift your mindset from that of a student to that of a musician. And that's what we're really trying for. It's that I'm a creator rather than a consumer. So every time you create something, no matter how minor, you're practicing. And you're not just practicing, you're reinforcing your identity. You're saying, I'm someone who plays. And that belief is what makes the habit stick. Of course, I'm not saying that all consumption is bad or consumption has no place. Learning from others is truly essential. But the key is to consume with purpose. Watch that tutorial because you have a specific challenge that you're working through. And then apply what you watched and what you learned the same day. So let your questions lead your learning, not your scrolling habits. Even better, treat consumption as a reward, something you enjoy after you spent time creating first. So the next time you find yourself drifting into passive consumption, pause and ask yourself, have I created anything today? You don't need to have written a masterpiece. You just need to have shown up. The habit you're trying to build doesn't require perfection, only presence. Ultimately, long-term musical growth doesn't come from watching someone else do it. It comes from a daily act of creating. Bit by bit, note by note, you become the player you set out to be, not because you consumed the most, but because you had the courage to create. And I know it's hard, but it's also really rewarding. The creating is always more rewarding than the consuming. So your takeaway here is create, don't consume. Wherever possible, ask yourself the question, am I creating or am I consuming? And hopefully you can answer, I'm a creator. If you're trying to build a daily habit like writing, practicing an instrument, or working out, you've probably felt how hard it can be just to keep going. You show up some days, you skip others, and when it's just you, it's easy to quit the moment things get inconvenient. Here's the thing, you don't have to do it alone. Accountability, even the simplest form, can make a huge difference. I'm not talking about a high pressure system. I mean just telling one other person what you're doing. Like, hey, I'm going to practice saxophone for 10 minutes a day for a month. I'll text you when I do it. That's it. Suddenly, it's not just a wish in your head, it's a commitment. Someone else knows what you're up to, and it's amazing the difference that can make. When someone's expecting to hear from you, you're way more likely to follow through. Not out of guilt, but because your intention is visible now. There are so many ways to make this work. Join a small group where people share what they practiced. Use a habit tracker, an app, or even post a quick update in a story. Check in weekly with a friend, a coach, or even another learner. You don't need permission, just consistency. Just keep doing it. If you don't have a partner or a group, that's okay too. You can still build self-accountability. Track your habit on a wall calendar, journal your progress, or reflect every week. The point is, give your habit some kind of witness. Something or someone that says, this matters. I see you showing up. So here's your first step. Notify one friend. Send one message and keep one short log. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just begin. Let someone in and make your goals known. And then keep on going. Keep playing. When you think about accountability, you probably picture coaches, tracking apps, or maybe some rigid system. But honestly, one of the most powerful forms of accountability doesn't come from structure. It comes from connection. Yes, your friends and family, your inner circle, can be your best support system for building habits, especially if you include them the right way. Here's why involving them works so well. Someone who cares whether you're sticking with your habit is way more motivating than any app notification. Someone who reminds you gently when you forget, that can keep your momentum going, and someone who celebrates your effort, not just your progress, makes it feel way more worth it. Of course, not all accountability feels good. Done wrong, it's pressure. Done right, it feels like support. And the key is this, not everyone in your life needs to support you the same way. That's fine. In fact, it's better. Different people fit different roles. You might have the encourager, someone who cheers you on, even if you don't totally get what you're doing. You've got the check-in buddy, someone who'll text you, did you practice today? Just a quick nudge. Then you've got an accountability partner, maybe a friend who's building their own habit, and you check in with each other regularly. Or the listener, someone who simply hears your plan, you say it aloud, and suddenly it feels a lot more real. So how do you ask for that support? Really, it's simple. Just keep it specific and low-key. Try something like, hey, I'm trying to play guitar for 5 minutes a day. Can I text you when I do it? Or would you mind asking me once a week how my practice is going? Or even, you don't have to understand this. I just need someone to hear it. Most people want to help, but they don't know how unless you tell them. So don't turn it into pressure or guilt. This should feel supportive, not stressful. You don't need a big system or app. Just one person who knows what you're working on. And the best part, when you invite someone into your habit journey, it often deepens your relationship. They see your effort, your growth, and you start seeing yourself that way too. So here's the takeaway. Pick one person, be very clear, be kind, and let them in. And maybe you'll end up growing together. So accountability, bring someone in on your journey. If telling a friend about your new habit doesn't feel strong enough, there's a way to seriously raise the stakes, and that's to write a contract. like an actual real contract and then sign it. Here's how it works. You fill this out and we have it at the bottom of the page. I, David, promise to play guitar for at least 5 minutes per day. Should I not keep this up, then my forfeit will be to donate, let's say $100 to my charity I don't care for, but signed David Law. And so that's it. It's super simple, but it works. Why? Because it taps into something deep in our brain, and maybe even more so in Scottish brains, loss aversion. We humans hate losing way more than we love winning. Studies say it's about 10 to 1. That's huge. So when you put something meaningful on the line, not just your pride, but something that would hurt to lose, you suddenly care a lot more about sticking with your habit. And it doesn't have to be money. It could be giving up your favorite show for a week, cleaning somebody else's bathroom, letting your sibling post an embarrassing photo about you. You get the idea. Right now, I've got a bet going on with someone in the team. Whoever can do more pull-ups by the end of the summer gets £100. And listen, I don't want to lose, much more than I want to win. So if you're ready to step it up, print out and sign the contract, write it out and stick it up where you see it, and make it real, make it visible, and make those forfeits count. You'll be amazed how motivating a little fear of loss can be. So, one friend, one contract, one small but painful forfeit that might just be the nudge you need to finally make your habits stick. And I'd say give it a try. There's also online sites that you can sign up to that will penalize you. You can commit to a public goal and track it. And if you don't make it, you'll be penalized, you'll get money taken away. And so there's always an app for it, but give this a try. We've been focusing on one thing, and that's consistency. Just show up every day. And that's important, but it's not the only part of the story. What really turns a habit into something sustainable, something that lasts, is this. It's kind of reflecting and refining what you're doing. It's not just about asking, did I do it? It's asking, how did it go? How did I do it? What did I learn about myself today? That's where your habit stops being mechanical and starts becoming meaningful. When you reflect regularly, you start to notice patterns. When you're most motivated, what throws you off, what feels energizing, and what feels like a grind. And that awareness is very powerful, because once you see the patterns, you can refine the approach. And here's the part that most people skip. Refining your habit doesn't mean you've failed. It means you're listening and listening to yourself and what works for you. Maybe practicing guitar at 7 a.m. doesn't work for you. Cool. Try lunchtime instead. Maybe 20 minutes is too long. What about 5? That's not quitting, that's adjusting. So think of your habit like tuning an instrument. You're not starting over, you're fine-tuning until it fits your life, your energy, and your creativity. And honestly, that flexibility, that permission to adapt is what makes habits last, because life changes, schedules shift, and motivation comes and goes. But a flexible habit, that can move with you and with all the changes. So try this. At the end of your day, ask yourself, what worked and what didn't? Once a week, look back and ask, is this still working for me? And if not, tweak it. Shift something. That's not failure, it's progress. And this is how you make your habit your own, not someone else's, and just yours. One that fits your real life and grows with you. You're not just building a habit, you're building self-awareness, and that's how it sticks. When we think about getting better at music, our minds love to jump to the big goals. Master a tough song, perform in public, and finally feel good at your instrument. None of that matters if you don't show up. I'm a broken record, I know, I'm sorry. The real secret to progress isn't some perfect practice routine or natural talent. It's just showing up every day. No, that doesn't mean you have to practice for an hour to accomplish something big. It might mean 5 minutes, or even just picking up your instrument and messing around with it. That's still showing up, and that's what counts. When you show up consistently, your instrument becomes part of your daily rhythm. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or the right mood, you just begin. And honestly, that's where the magic happens. You build momentum, you build trust in yourself, and little by little you improve without needing to chase some huge, lofty, intimidating goal. The difference between someone who plays once in a while and someone who actually improves, it's not talent, it's not time, it's the ability to return to the instrument again and again, even when life is messy. So forget about getting better for now. Just focus on this. Pick up your instrument at least once a day. That's it. What do I have here? I have my guitar and done. I've picked up my guitar, I've familiarized myself with it again, and I've met my habit requirements. The progress will come because you'll still be there day after day doing the one thing that matters most, and that's showing up. And I'm sorry for being a broken record, but it truly is important. Keep that streak, have that habit tracker, all crosses, just show up. It doesn't need to be for long, just show up. At Noisy Clan, we've got one simple mission, and that's to help people play more, like you. Not just practice more, not grind, not push, but play. Because music or noise or sound, whatever we want to call it, is meant to bring joy. It lifts our spirits, connects people, and cuts through all kinds of barriers. The last thing it should feel like is a chore. For a lot of us, practice starts to feel like a duty. Something to check off or something we avoid because we're not in the mood or we don't feel good enough. That's why reframing matters. Don't think of it as practice. Think of it as play. And we get flack from teachers and instructors, but play means curiosity. It means trying stuff out, making mistakes, going off script, following what feels like fun or weird or interesting. And when you stop measuring your sessions by how productive they were and start noticing whether you felt engaged or enjoyed something new, that's when habits start to stick, because it becomes something you want to do, you want to come back to. Now, structure is fine, it helps, but it should support your enjoyment, the joy, not get in the way of it. The more you approach music with a sense of play, the easier it gets to show up. And the progress? It sneaks up on you. So here's a simple takeaway. Find the fun. Find the part of music that brings you joy. Then build just one small habit around that. Try a new sound just because it makes you laugh. Stop practicing and start playing. That's where the magic is, because we all want to play more. Big musical goals sound exciting, right? Compose an original album, play a flawless solo at jam night, master finger picking, all awesome goals, but they don't actually tell you what to do today. And that's exactly where a lot of habits start to fall apart. And this is where bite-sized goals come in. Instead of aiming at something huge and far away, you focus on what you can do today and in one short session, like figure out the chord to the first verse, practice just the right hand of that tricky section, spend 5 minutes working on clean transitions between two finger picking patterns. That's it. Small, clear, and doable. And the best part, these kind of goals give you a quick win, a sense of progress, and that's crucial for making any habit stick. They also make it easier to start. It's back to that kind of 2-minute rule. When a goal is small enough, you can begin anywhere. No big setup, no perfect mood required, and once you get going, you usually keep going longer than you planned. That's how it works. Small wins build confidence. Confidence builds momentum, and momentum leads to long-term growth. So here's a simple challenge. Take one of your big, slightly overwhelming musical goals and break it into 5 tiny steps. Then start with just one today, because smaller really is smarter, and small steps taken consistently are going to take you a long, long way. So think small. We were just talking about thinking small, and this is kind of an extension of that. One of the most satisfying moments in learning music isn't when you finish a big project, it's when you nail a small part of it. And that's the idea behind micro-mastery. It's not about learning everything, it's about getting really good at one tiny focused thing. Micro-mastery might mean locking in the groove of one short lick, or finally nailing the feel of that one rhythm, or cleanly switching between 2 tricky chords. It doesn't have to be a full song, just one small section, and that feels complete and satisfying. And here's why it works. It keeps you out of overwhelm. You're not staring down a mountain of stuff to learn. You're just focused on this one little piece right in front of you. And when you master even that small thing, it feels really good, because now you're not just practicing, you're finishing something, you're owning a skill. And that sense of ownership builds real confidence. And the best part, every time you master something small, you're stacking proof. I can do this, I'm improving, I want to keep going. That's how habits stick, not through pressure or perfection, but through little wins that feel great. So here's your challenge. Pick one small area of your instrument that excites you. One transition, one groove, one tiny section you've always liked, and go deep. Really master it and enjoy it, because small wins drive really big progress, and they're way more fun all along the way. Congratulations, you've made it through our Music Habit series. You've explored how to build consistency, how to reflect and refine, how to set micro goals, and even how lighting a candle or showing up for just 2 minutes can completely shift your musical routine. Here's the big takeaway. Playing more doesn't have to be hard, it just has to be yours. It's not about being perfect, it's about showing up, tuning in, and finding joy in the small moments. Play that one bar, set a tiny goal, start a ritual, keep the chain going, and when it slips, just begin again. And most importantly, you're not doing this alone. Hopefully this community is here to support you. If you found something that works, please share it. If you've had a win, even a small one, let's celebrate it. If you've fallen off, come back again. We totally get it. Maybe your ritual is making a cup of tea before you play. Maybe you discovered that 5 minutes after lunch is your sweet spot. Or maybe you help someone else pick up their instrument again. And that's a win too. We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a note in the group. What habit has worked for you? What little success are you proud of? What tip would you share with someone just starting out? Because every time one of us plays more, we remind each other what this is all about. It's about music, it's about joy, it's about connecting with others, and it's about expressing yourself. So go ahead, play something today and let us know how it goes. We're here with you. I'm going to go off and play.